Click, click, bang. What up? Say what's up.
What's going on?
All right, what we about to do?
Mr. Click Click Bang here. We're about to, my family told me come over, show them how to clean a firearm. So I said, by all means, you know, I'm there. So we're going to clean her 9mm Millennium Taurus. I see I have family members that think alike. You know, Taurus is that thing. So the first thing we're going to do is clear the firearm. We're going to take that. Anytime you're cleaning the firearm, you want to keep the bullets actually nowhere near in sight. I put it in a box away. Now we're going to clear it. Nothing's in the chamber, so it is clear. And I'll show you. All right. First things first. This is an old school Taurus, the Millennium, one of the first, like the G2Cs. This is one of the first ones that came out. So the takedown on this is a little bit different. Believe me, I had some trouble taking it down. So you want to lock it back with your slide lock. So it's in the lock position. Always make sure it's clear. Then your takedown lever is right at the side. You're going to put that takedown lever straight up and down. Then you want to pull it out.
What's the 3 safety rules for these firearms?
3 safety rules. Always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Always keep your finger off the trigger. And always keep your gun unloaded until ready to use. Those are the 3 safety rules. Now, you go to ranges, they're going to have some more. But if you follow those 3, it incorporates all the other rules. Those 3 main rules.
So if you handed me that gun, what was I supposed to do first?
You're going to clear it to make sure it's not loaded.
Gotcha.
Because you're going to always make sure the gun is unloaded. So that falls under keeping it pointed in the same direction. Always treat the gun as if it's loaded. See, this is the problem I had taking this off. What I didn't like about this, that the takedown isn't really easy. You have to use something to pull that pin out. So we gotta.
I'm gonna pause.
So this takedown is super hard to do. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use something from the cleaning kit. Let's see if this pick will work. Take the pick, put it in there, and there we go. Start to slide it out. And that's the difference between the older generations and the newer generations. The newer generations are a lot more simpler to take the takedown pin out. So we just pull that pin out. Now that's out. Now, on all of the Taurus models, bring the slide forward, then you got to pull the trigger and the slide to come off. So now you have the frame, then you have all the components. Now in here, the captive spring, your barrel, and these are the main components that we will be cleaning. Alright, so we got everything together now. I like to start with the barrel and get the barrel out the way. To clean the barrel, all we're going to do is we're going to use some frog lube, which is a lubricant and a cleaner. You could separate and get cleaner and lube, but this is the all-in-one. You're just gonna spray in the barrel, a couple squirts, and then you're gonna take your bore rod. You're gonna use the metal one to get all the hard debris, the carbon that's built up on it. And you're just gonna push it through, bring it back through a couple times. You're not doing it a lot, just a couple times, in and out, in and out. And then once you're done with that, you take your brush. I like to use the metal brush, and you clean the front of the bore, the feed ramp. And I'm gonna show y'all what that looks like. I should have showed you the before picture because this thing was a little dirty. You've been shooting a lot, huh, with this? So, it is a lot of carbon coming off there, and I'm gonna show you in a minute how clean this thing gets. So I'm gonna wipe it down. Now look how shiny that is. If you could tell, that's shiny. That thing was all built up with carbon. And now it's shiny and smooth. Now we're gonna take the bore rod and take the brush off the end of it. I'm just gonna run this felt paper through it and get all the debris that was caught up on it.
Gotcha.
As you can see. You know what I mean? And just run it through there a couple times. Look in there. Looks pretty good. Now I'll just take whatever leftover residue from the cleaning solution and wipe the sides of the barrel off. Just get it clean. That's it. You could go really in depth, but all you're trying to do is get majority of the carbon off and to keep everything functioning and lube so it will work properly. So all the metal parts that's rubbing together would, you know, slide off easily without creating so much friction. So now the barrel is done. Take another felt. The next thing I'm gonna go to is the recoil spring. Take a couple sprays on there. And with the recoil spring, you're just wrapping the paper around it and you're just twisting it, following the natural path of the spring. I'm just taking it and it'll go down automatically. Take that off. Nothing fancy, nothing much. You're just getting that major buildup off of there and keeping it lubricated. That's the main thing about this, keeping it lubricated. Then the next thing I go to is the slide. So in the slide, you really don't want to get anything wet down in there. So you want to just take a couple squirts and spray right in front of the firing pin on that blade right there. As you can see, anything that wears is what the metal slides on. So you want to make sure that's cleaned and lubricated.
What happens if you damage your firing pin?
You're going on fire if you damage it.
And it could be damaged in cleaning by spraying it on there.
Well, it won't be damaged. What will happen is, as you know, oil attracts what? Dirt. So to get a lot dirty a lot quicker.
Gotcha.
So you just want to keep it away from it. It's not going to really damage it to the sense where it's going to break it or anything, but it'll just get dirty quicker, which would then in turn mess up the normal operation of the internals there for the firing pin. So now that I've wiped it down some, I'm going to take a brush again, and I want to make sure and get in the creases that the slide moves on. Just want to scrub that out just a little. Both sides. Now I'm just lightly rubbing this thing on here. I'm not really applying a lot of pressure. As you can see, a lot of the carbon is coming off, and you're going to see that here shortly. Like that. And you also want to make sure and get where your firing pin is. If you can see it, I'm just going to run that past. And as you can see, it's clearing up a lot. And then just take another paper and just wipe everything down. And everything should come off on the pads that you're using to clean. You can use an old cloth. You don't have to use these papers. You can use an all cotton cloth to do the same thing with them. If you got any old shirts or something like that, this way you don't have to keep buying these. I find that works easy and it works fine. So I'm just gonna wipe this down. Alright, nothing fancy. Wipe that front down again. Make sure that firing pin is clear. It is clear. So now the slide is done. The next thing we're gonna go to is the frame. On the frame, you want the contact points. All the metal points, you wanna make sure it's clear, and just right around inside the mag well where the feed ramp is, right there. All right, so I'll just spray a little there, just a little. Then run there. Take my brush. Again. All we're doing is cleaning it up. Nothing fancy. We're not doing spring cleaning. We're just getting it to where we make sure that it's functioning correctly every time we use this thing. Some people say clean it every time you fire these guns. These guns are designed to take a beat. A good rule of thumb is every 400 or 500 rounds you put through it, then I do some cleaning to keep that carbon from building up. So that's what, about 8 boxes of ammo, 8 boxes of 50 rounds of ammo. And I take the cloth, clean that off, clean inside there. Now those hard to reach spots down in there, you can always take something like your bore rod, get it down the mag well, clean off in there. And all we're doing is removing carbon and dust. Anything that could build up. Alright. I think that looks good. So now, all we do now is spray a little lube in the grooves where the slide runs back and forth. Not a lot. As you can see, I'm just taking one little squirt on both sides. One in the front, one in the back.
Smells like peppermint.
Yeah, it does. It does have a. This frog lube doesn't have a bad smell like the other cleaners. And then we're gonna put it back together. Slide the barrel in first. It goes in the top hole. Should slide right into place with the grooves pointed upwards and your barrel shield on top. Then you're gonna throw back in your captive spring with the fatter end facing towards the front, and then the back you're gonna push in and it slides down into that groove. So there's a groove down there, if you can see it. There's a groove right down in there. So you don't want it laying on top, you want to push it in and slide it down. And the barrel should remain pretty even when you do that. Let me get another cloth. Alright, now we're just going to put the slide back on. So on this particular model, oh, we're going to clean that pin as well. We didn't clean that pin off. Take some of this, just lube the pin, clean it off. The takedown lever, I mean, not the pin. Alright, we're going to lube that up. Then we're going to slide it back on. When we slide it back on, we're going to lock it in place. We're going to make sure that the barrel on this one, for some reason on these older ones, that the barrel moves. So we want to make sure the barrel is all the way forward. Because of those grooves that the pin slides in on, it has to go in between there. Now there's only one way to fit these in. So you have to move it around till you figure out where it goes in at. There you go. Started going in. Then you push it all the way in until it snaps in place. It has to go flush. So you just push it in till you hear it go flush. Until you feel it get flush inside there. I'm going to take it back out because I don't know if I had that all the way out. Okay. Do it this way. Just moving it around. You'll feel it go in place. So there. Snapped in place.
Got it.
Now, all you do is bring the slide forward. And you should be good to go. So now that we got it together, you take a rag and we clean off the front. All the excess oils on there, because you don't want it too oily. All the excess oils, you just clean off the front. Clean off the back. And after we do this, we're gonna do a test, a trigger test. Just gonna wipe it down. Like that. Alright, that's pretty good. Rack it back. Down. There you go. Now you do a trigger test. And how you do that is you rack it back, you hold the trigger. While you're holding the trigger, you rack it again. You let off the trigger slowly until you hear a click. I don't know if you heard it, but it's a click. And then you pull the trigger again. So now you know your firing pin and your action system is working properly.
Yeah.
So there you go. Then you put it back together. You're ready to get back in the fight. Click, click.
Bang.
There you go.
Thank you. Click, click, bang.
Nope.
What? Coronavirus? Even though I feel too low, I keeping my ass at home. I keeping my ass at home. I'm not going out. Even though I feel too low, I keeping my ass at home. I keeping my ass at home. I'm not going out. I don't know what to do for San Novas. Everybody afraid that the virus. They say it coming straight out of China. Mash up the thing just so.
Click, click, bang.
Click, click, bang.
That's right.
And